One. Hey, Dave Melinda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you this week. I have a great question, and I have a great guy that's going to answer this question for us. We try every week to find a good question that really helps from a business growth, from a personal growth strategy. And today is about video. And I want to ask the question of, is video still a viable business growth strategy? And video takes on a lot of different terms, so we'll kind of unpack that because I've seen 10-second videos with an iPhone, and then I've seen very expensive videos. So obviously there's both. So we're going to unpack that today. I'm honored to be hanging out with Connor Zornow. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. A fellow Wisconsinite. Good job. Sorry that you had to migrate down to the dark side and go to Illinois, but
Yeah.
hey, we'll still hang out today, no problem. But you are the president of Black Raven Media. So fill us in if you can, Connor, on what Black Raven Media is.
Yeah. So at its core, Black Raven Media is a digital marketing agency that is predominantly supportive in the video capacity, but we also, support in website building, social media, Google ad management, ad copy and general content creation.
Okay.
And then we are roping in the AI, SO, AI offerings to help support our businesses in new ways as AI world expands. And being video being our core competency, it's actually been an interesting last 12 to 16 months, learning how video integrates into the AI world. And
Oh,
actually,
okay. Sure.
I personally believe that video is the last great bastion that AI can't really take over because it's too
Okay.
complex and the
Okay.
content is too specific. And
Okay.
especially AI is good at repeating things, right? Video is supposed to be different every time. So it's
Gotcha.
not
Okay.
easy to replicate a video process with
Okay.
AI right now. Obviously, you can make AI videos, but
Sure.
they're not necessarily unique and they're not necessarily personal because they can't pull from anything that exists already unless you've already done a video.
Gotcha. Perfect. Okay. Well, I'm excited to unpack this because it's you hear a lot of different ideas and concepts about video and if it's still viable, if it's not, when to do it, when not to do it. So we're gonna dive into that today. As you know, Connor, we always like to talk about the entrepreneurial journey because especially for you, you have a unique story in that you were in corporate America, you joined a company, and then you actually purchased that company. So I think that's kind of a cool path. So
Yeah.
if you can kind of share with our listeners what that was like. So you started in video like when, how early in your career and
Yeah.
how early in your life did you start?
Yeah. I mean, this actually goes all the way back to college for me.
Okay.
So I studied theater, film, radio, TV, the whole gamut of media in college. I actually went to
Okay.
UW Oshkosh because I'm from around the Oshkosh area.
Sure.
And I graduated. I am Before I graduated, I actually got an internship out in New York working for a TV company,
Okay.
producing video every day. So I worked in Manhattan for 3 months, and then I
Okay.
moved home, finished my degree, and immediately started working in film. So I have a long tenure in video, specifically in production.
Okay.
Um, and then COVID hit. The company I was working for was somewhat of an international company. So
Okay.
COVID hit, we kind of killed it because we couldn't
Sure.
travel anywhere. Um, and then I moved to Chicago looking for work just because, let's just say Appleton, Wisconsin's not a stunning bastion of video work. And I moved to Chicago looking for work, ended up in AV for a little while, and then finally worked my way into a video editing position at a very large organization. I was there while they went public.
Okay.
UL Solutions, most people know them as Underwriters Laboratories or a little
Sure.
circle with a U and an L in it.
Yep.
Um, and I worked for them for, oh gosh, it was a few years before I moved on. But
Okay.
I learned an entirely different world of video. I had come from creative, I had come from narrative storytelling overall, make sure that if everything else is horrible, at least the story is good,
Sure.
to corporate video, which is high polish. It's not necessarily the stories are unique. They're usually somewhat of the same talking points every time, but high
Okay.
polish, making sure it's perfect, uh, as fast as possible, as well made as possible, as early as possible. And that's not necessarily part of the video process that I was aware of. Usually it was, you work through it together. It's a
Sure.
collaborative. This is more
Sure.
of a tactical one.
Okay.
And then after learning all of that, after understanding how video plays different roles throughout different spheres with different
Okay.
industries, I realized that I wanted to get back towards more of like a narrative version of video. I wanted to get back towards an aspirational version of video that was less, not necessarily less polished, but less focused on specific talking points. And then I ended up finding out about Black Raven Media. I found out about our sub brand Builder Showcase, and I fell in love because I'm from TV. I understood TV. I had directed television shows in college. I had worked through TV and film projects throughout my early career, and I wanted to
Sure.
get back to that. And I contacted the previous owner, and I worked my way into the company to try to figure out how to run everything. And I thought it makes sense. It's a perfect fit for who I am. It's about topics that I like,
Sure.
and it's aspirational content, which is all I wanted to make in the first place. And we ended up going through the sales process. I intended to buy. We went in through the whole due diligence period, and like I said, it made sense to me. It was kind of a no-brainer. They talk about in the world of acquisition the business buyer fit. I felt like our business buyer fit was about 98, 99%, which is not
Sure.
usual,
Sure.
especially
Sure.
most people are coming from different roles entirely, and then they end up owning a
Right.
small business and they kind of
Yep.
got to figure it out for a while. And yeah, the transition went well, and I met all the team, and we got to know everybody, got to see all the inner workings really, tied together, and then I started running it from there. And it's been about 2 years. I'd say it's been going pretty well, and I'd say our clients are very happy with the level of service has not changed whatsoever. So
Sure. Oh, that's awesome. So I'm thinking when I hear what you're talking about here, Connor, a lot of people that purchase businesses are actually really good on the business side, and then they have to learn the business, the product, or
yes,
the service. You're kind of opposite, where you already knew pretty darn well the product and service. It was really the business side. Did you have that business acumen that you felt like you were ready for that, or was that something that you had to really invest in for yourself on learning how profit and loss statement, how to build a team? The things that were not really
yeah.
specifically related to TV production.
I would say that it was definitely a learning curve for me, right? Most, to your point, most people that go through this is what's called a self-funded search. I acquired a business off my own balance sheet. I wasn't looking for outside capital. I didn't pull in an investor.
Sure.
Most people in that position are high paying corporate marketing, sales, or some kind of operations role. That's usually, I'm not wager a guess at a statistic, but that's usually the personality that does this. They have
Sure.
a lot of income. They take that income, they invest it into a business. But like you said, I came from a completely different side of the spectrum. I'm more of a
Yep.
creative. I'm more of a
Yep.
tactical endeavor. So I wanted to pick a business in an industry I already understood because then all I
Sure.
had to do was figure out the business side. And
Yep.
yes, that's daunting. There's a lot there, but I've always trusted myself and learned very quickly. So I wasn't scared of the opportunity.
Sure.
I knew it would be hard. I wanted to do it anyway.
Yep.
And I'm always the kind of person that, if I don't do it right the first time, I always take another crack at the bat, and that's okay.
Sure.
So what did they say? A messy action over a perfect inaction was
Sure.
more of the ideology behind the acquisition, and it's going pretty well.
That's awesome. Well, and I think it's an encouragement for anybody listening right now to think about that because again, we run into a lot of people that are opposite of Connor that they have the business acumen. They're just trying to find a business to kind of align themselves with. In his case, Connor found the business and then had to learn it. So we always say each week, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. Connor's way isn't better or worse. It's just his way. So don't follow what we say as, hey, I got to do it that way. This is just one idea that, you
Yeah.
know, did you think, Connor, in college when you were producing and then as you were starting your internship, did was there was there a desire to own your business eventually at that time, or were you just purely focused on the position that you were in that day?
I wouldn't say so. Um, I I would say it's close, but not the same. So
Okay,
in the film world, and this is a joke, so everyone who has ties to the film world will laugh, but in the film world, everyone wants to be a director. Everybody, because everyone's idea is the best, and they want to be in charge of it, and they want to tell everyone else how to make it come to life.
sure,
I fell into that trap as well. I wanted to be a director. I didn't know how to be a director, but I was going to figure it out. And I chose video production and post production as my avenue to work with directors because another thing you may not know is when you make a film, they film it for about 6 months. You deal with hundreds of people as a director, thousands of people, so you barely talk to anyone. And
okay,
then afterwards, you spend 6 months in an editing bay with just the editor. So I figured if I could be a director, then I would likely want to be the editor because I would get to know directors. I would get to know
gotcha,
producers.
sure,
Um, and editing is its own difficult position. It's a lot of shuffling around different pieces, trying to polish, trying to make everything look okay, even though it doesn't necessarily come in right.
sure,
And it can be high stress, a lot of accountability. And I found out that, being an editor isn't so different from being a business owner. Everything comes down to you. Everyone blames you if it doesn't come out right because you're the one fixing it all.
sure,
And you're the one who has the least amount of time to do it because, yes, in that example, I said 6 months, but in corporate, you get 4 weeks for a whole project, and the editor
yeah,
gets about 6 days of that
yeah.
to tie the last 3.5 weeks of everyone else's stuff together.
Sure. Wow, that's so cool. Well, and I think it's well prepared for that, for being the president and owner of Black Raven Media. I think you're obviously set in a good spot for that. Excuse me. So thanks for sharing that. So as we get to the question for today about video, is it still a viable option for business growth? And you talk about AI and you talk about, there's so many things that are bombarding the average consumer. So I just want to start high level. Do you feel that video is still viable as a business growth strategy for any business owner, any entrepreneur listening today?
I do. I do. I don't think it's viable in the formats that most people want to do because it's convenient.
Okay.
Um, I'll elaborate on that in a second, but I do think
Sure.
it's an incredibly viable tool,
Okay.
and it has to do with the consumer behavior, right? What is your consumer generally doing nowadays? I don't know if everyone's got their finger on the pulse, but I know that when I have leisure time, I'm almost always listening or watching something.
Okay.
I don't like quiet,
Sure.
especially when I'm like if I'm working, I like to have something on to listen to. If
Okay.
I'm not working, I like to sit on my couch and watch something, even if I'm on my phone. So
Sure.
I don't like the quiet, and I want to
Okay.
have something going. And that's not abnormal. I mean, people have had TV for a long time, so that's
Sure.
somewhat standard nowadays. But the thing that most people are doing is they're consuming two videos at once. Sometimes they'll pause one to watch the other, but most of the time people are on their phone looking at video because they don't want to read anymore.
Okay.
They don't want to have to go find content and pay attention to it. They want to passively absorb information. And video is the best format for that.
Okay.
Um, Now, when I said video is useful, but it's not necessarily useful in the ways that are convenient, is that a sales video is not going to perform as well as a video just talking about your life, right?
Mm,
That's more
okay.
social. It's more
Yeah.
passive. People aren't
Okay.
being sold on something. If you make a video and you say, "Hey," we work with a lot of home builders, right? So I'm just going to use them as an
Hmm.
example. Pick on them.
Sure.
Um, if you make a video and say, "Hey, I have a house. I built it. Go buy it right now. Here's the link. Here's where it is. Here's how much it costs." People are going to say, "Okay, I mean, I might be interested in the house. It's pretty," and then they're going to go there and, "Oh, I'm not really in the market for house buying right now."
Sure.
It's kind of a longer sales conversation than that, but they might
Sure.
get some views because it's pretty.
Yep.
Um, Whereas if a home builder were to talk about, "Hey, here's the problems with building a house. Here's what I'm dealing with this week. Come with me and I'll show you more about it."
Okay.
That's what most of the common video influencers on Instagram, on YouTube, especially in the home building space, that's what their content, the majority of it is. I'm dealing with this problem. Come with me and I'll tell you how to figure it out.
Okay.
Because that's what people want. They want to know
Yeah.
more about the world, especially if they're interested in home building. They want to know what's wrong with most homes. They want to know how to fix it. They want to know what things to avoid because they may not be ready to buy a home right now, but they want to passively digest information about home building so that when they are ready, they know who to go to, they know
Sure.
what to do, and they know who to avoid or what to avoid. They want to be ready for it when they're ready for it.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you, the video is still a viable option for growth, but we need to make sure that we're creating the correct video. So, the correct video or proper video, whatever you want to say,
Yes.
relevant video for today. I think it's like what you said is the first example you had is here's my house, here's the open house, come and buy it today, here's the price. Pretty non-emotional. But then I'm guessing your second piece of, hey, these are the struggles we're having. Why don't you come on with me today? And we'll kind of unpack that. That's a much more emotional sale, I'm assuming. So is one of the keys of video trying to get emotion involved with people? Is
Oh,
is that
yes.
an
Oh,
important
yes.
piece of this?
Yes. So this is what distinguishes a good story from a bad story, right? I'm sure everyone's seen movies that they absolutely loved, but they have a hard time watching again. And they've everyone's seen movies that they don't really care about, but they're easy to put on and kind of zone out to. The
Sure.
reason that you have a hard time watching the good one, the one that you really liked, is because it made you feel a certain way.
Okay.
And you enjoyed going through that process once, but you may not want to do it all the time.
Sure.
And the video that you just put on and just listen to, you don't care, right? It's just happening. You
Sure.
exist near it. And at the end of the day, you're probably going to forget that you ever watched that video.
Okay.
Uh, Emotion is heavily linked to storytelling. And in this capacity, if you have a really unempathetic kind of here's my sterile offering, take it, buy it, it's not gonna, like, I'm not saying it's never gonna convert. It will
Yeah.
convert
Yeah.
eventually. But what you need is you need to help the people. You need to understand that every view of your video is a human being and they want something out of you.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to give it to them, but they want something out of you. They want a connection with you. They
Sure.
came here because they want to understand you better. And when you have empathy at the heart of video content creation, you get these overwhelming relationship building assets. I won't deep dive into it, but parasocial relationship building, which is I know you even though you've never met me.
Okay.
That is video is one of the only ways to form that bond
Okay.
because you're telling everyone about you all the time. They get to know
Sure.
everything about your life.
So is the empathy obviously is important to your point. Is that why you're seeing commercials use kids and dogs? And I mean,
Absolutely.
that's what people are doing
Absolutely.
to really try to make that connection? Is that kind of a simpler way that like I have a simple brain here, Connor. So am I just trying to make a connection with the person that's watching my video? Is that really kind of one of the first goals of a video is getting that connection to happen?
Yes. So if you this is the hardest part about video, right? We have to do that in 10 seconds nowadays.
Yeah.
It's very
Right.
difficult.
Sure.
So if you can tap into generally accessible experiences, like most people have kids. So if you
Yeah.
put a kid in your video, you're
Yeah.
now immediately linked to, okay, so I'm going to think about my kids while I'm watching this.
Right. Sure. Okay.
Most people like dogs. Most people have a pet of some kind if they don't have a dog. So once again, I'm going to put this in here so you can immediately link to my world experience. That's the
Sure.
idea.
Gotcha. Okay. So if someone's listening right now, Connor, and they're like, I'm not good at stories. I'm not good at emotion. I'm not good at that. I sell screws or, I
Yeah.
sell a product that's very like, just technical. Is that where Black Raven Media then kind of you come alongside and help that
Yeah.
person turn that story into something that is going to be a little bit more emotional?
Yeah. I mean, let's say that most products are not, they're not necessarily hard to explain. Most products are pretty simple.
Sure.
Well, be it complex or not, they're relatively simple things to understand, especially in the
Okay.
consumer space. Here's a phone, here's a bag of food. Like it is that way.
Sure.
But if you can get into the consumer's headspace, if you can understand what they're thinking about, why they're here, and how they're approaching you, then you know what ways you can communicate with them to elicit that emotional response. And you'll see this with the big companies. Let's talk about like Nike. Nike did this for a long time. They
Yeah.
didn't focus on selling shoes to people because shoes are a relatively easily understood thing to sell. They
Okay.
focused on empowering women to do things instead of ask for permission to do things. That is their slogan that they've been running for, I don't know, 30, 40 some odd years. Just
Okay.
do it.
Yeah.
We understand that it's difficult. We understand that you might be scared, but you need to just do it,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And they try to elicit that response. So you'll see most of their commercials with that slogan focus around women. They focus
Yeah.
around women doing things that are hard, women doing things that might make them uncomfortable, because the
Yeah.
idea is to empower them to just do those things.
Wow. Well, and so they obviously know their market, and I think a lot of times we think of somebody like Nike or Coke or any of these big names, and we're like, I don't have that type of budget. How does the average small business figure out their customer and then convert that into some story? That would be hard to do, and that's where I think a lot of people struggle and then they don't do it rather than connect with somebody like you.
Yeah.
That seems to be it's one thing to produce the video. That's
Mhm.
part of your world, but the other part is actually making that video so that is connecting with people that, I wouldn't have the first idea on like if I was going to do a video, like when we did our video on speaking, for instance, I had to find ways to connect with event planners, people that were actually hiring speakers, and the
Mhm.
people that did our video did a good job of actually trying to make that connection. That's got to be the hardest part. I mean, it's one thing to make the
Yeah.
video. It's got to be kind of a challenge though to create that, make a story like fun, and you don't want to put this video down. That seems to be harder than making the video. Is that
Oh,
correct?
yes. Yes. Videos can exist with different levels of polish. Our agency is hired to make sure that the story is right, right?
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
that's the whole point. You can
Okay,
you can produce video nowadays with phones. You can just
yeah,
take a video of yourself and put it out there,
yep,
and people may or may not watch it.
yeah,
Uh, but we help you with the strategy behind the why, right? No
okay,
video is going to do everything for your sales organization, but it can help smooth out problems. So I'd say the first thing you could do if you're trying to relate to your audience, relate to your consumer base, your buyer base, is to ask a successful sale. Why did you want to work with me? Can you give me
sure,
more information about why you chose me over someone else? What is
gotcha.
it about me that really shined with you, that you really liked? And then wrap that into your story. That's what, at the heart of it, yes, they're very polished, but the big budget campaigns, They did that part first.
Okay.
That's why their campaigns are so effective because they
Sure.
know why people want to talk to them
Gotcha. Okay.
over
Well, that's
someone else.
sure. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to kind of unpack that phone versus professional and things like that. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Honored to be hanging out with Connor Zornow, the president of Black Raven Media. And we are answering the question about video and if it's still a viable business strategy for growth. And we've been talking about, two sides of it, the production side of it and also the story that it tells. So from that production side, Connor, I'm just curious because I'm seeing like on LinkedIn, for instance, I see a lot of people just walking down the street with a phone in their hand and they're doing a 30 or 60-second video. And then I also see the stuff that's professionally done. Obviously, huge cost difference, huge time investment difference, probably a huge audience difference. What do you say to somebody that comes to you and says, "Oh, we do all our own video, or we don't need anything polished"? Is there research or is there statistics that show that one's better over another? Or how do you kind of relate to somebody to which is the right video for them?
So it's really it's really the format or the way that you're going to show it off that speaks to the level of quality it needs to be.
Okay.
The like on your website, videos on your website need to be polished because you're going to be passively interacting with people there, and you want to put your best foot forward. That's why you built a website, right?
Sure.
The goal of a website is to be like your storefront, and you want to make sure your storefront's polished.
Okay.
But on social media, video that's filmed on your phone that isn't necessarily polished, that content generally performs better. Why?
Hmm.
So on social media, people, like I said, are not trying to be sold. They don't want to be sold there. They just worked all day, or
Sure.
they're avoiding work actively now. That's why people are
Sure.
on social media. They want to have something that's more, comfortable, more natural, more social, for lack of a better word, so that they can or decompress, unpack from the day.
Sure.
So video that's just on your phone, that's off the cuff, you filmed it randomly that day, that stuff tends to perform better there. I'm not saying that
Okay.
professional or polished video can't perform there as well.
Sure.
It just
Sure.
needs to have the right story because
Sure.
people want to feel a certain way. But the super highly produced stuff, if it's going to TV, if it's going on your website, if it's going to be aired in a format that people want that premium feeling, specifically for small business owners, it's going to be TV and it's going to be your website for now. There's other
Yeah.
capacities like ads. Your ads are going to want to be well made. You're going to want to put more budget into the production side of those. Just because you want to put your best foot forward and you only have so much time. That's the idea.
Sure. Okay. So there's a lot of people listening right now, Connor, that their mind immediately goes to like an ROI, some kind of return on that investment. It's nothing worse than investing a bunch of money in a video or anything, but in this case, we're talking about video that nobody watches. Your
Mhm.
views are really low. There's no like, interaction. There's no next step.
Mhm.
What is there research out there that says, that video is still a viable option to use to grow
Yeah.
your business, or are people just kind of assuming that it's just a viable option?
So video is one of the things. It is difficult to track, like an immediate tracking of ROI, but
Yeah.
the best ways to track it are a higher conversion rate or a smoother sales process,
Okay.
right? Because people are either going to be already interested in your brand. Once I'm gonna pick on those home builders.
Yeah.
The home builders that we work with, we have our TV show Property Builder Showcase. It's been around on TV for 27 years, right?
Okay.
Uh, Not everyone's going to watch it all the time. It's TV. It only airs once a week at a certain time of the day, and people are going
Yep.
to find it. They're going to enjoy it for that little period of time. They may forget about it for a while. They'll come back. That's the whole point, right? It's
Sure.
always there. It's always on. Uh, but what we've seen is that clients who stick on the TV show longer, they see like a level or a hurdle of awareness, right? At a certain point, it starts to snowball because people start to they've seen you on the show for so long, they've had so much time to see you on the show that now they start to say, "Hey, I saw you.
Sure.
I know you." It's
Okay.
it's the KPI, it's not like, okay, we have this much in sales 3 days after the video has been launched. That can happen.
Sure.
It's not impossible, but it's not always common.
Okay.
But what you do see is, oh, yeah, I saw this somewhere. I know about what you're talking about. I'm
Okay.
aware of the problem. And
Okay.
then as you get into the sales process, you start to see conversations like, oh, yeah, no, this seems pretty straightforward. I don't have that many questions because I've already answered all my questions with your video. That was the whole point.
Sure.
Um, and then the other metrics that you can look at is, view count still very important. It is more of a vanity metric in terms of the platform. Like if you're on Facebook, your view count doesn't necessarily lead to sales, but if it's got 10 million views because it went viral, you're going to get something out of it.
Sure.
Uh, as far as KPI though, for an ROI, I would look at the smoothing of the sales process, a higher conversion at the end. If you change nothing else about your sales organization, but you get a really solid video in there for questions and answers, because once again, that's the empathetic part. Your people, when
Yeah.
people come to you, they have questions, they need answers. You need to understand where they're coming from. And the story can just be, I want to help you understand this better. Then you can put that in there, and it is possible to see an immediate increase in conversions.
Gotcha. Okay. It feels like people don't necessarily do a deep enough dive on what their customers looking for. When I talk to people and we do a lot of work around improving a customer's experience for clients, and if you're trying to improve an experience, a lot of people, a lot of business owners, a lot of people that are involved in that are only looking at it through their lens. And I like what you said before about ask the customer. Is that something that you guys typically suggest that if I wanted to do a video on X and whether it was new or existing market, whatever, but I didn't really know that market very well. Is that something that you really highly recommend is to make sure
Oh
that you have
yes.
a really crystal clear idea of who you're selling to?
Yes, yes. Especially just going off of my experience, let's talk about the searcher, right? The searcher is going to show up, someone who's trying to buy a business, just to re-explain the term. The searcher is going to show up. They're not going to understand everything. They're not going to know. And you're going to
Right.
have to ask people, specifically your employees, and what to do, because you might look dumb and that's okay, but you're going to
Yeah.
need to know how things work, or at least how they have worked. And you're going to have
Yeah.
to ask your customers why they're here because they chose to be here. They
Sure.
understand that there's something about this, and you need to understand that too if you're going to get more customers. But for everyone else, especially if you're entrepreneurial and you started up your own business, and maybe this isn't your marketing is not your forte, go talk to your best client, someone you like
Wow.
working with that clearly likes working with you. It's pretty easy to tell if you have a great client because they're
Sure.
happy. They don't really have any problems when you talk to them about your service. They love when you're around. They always chat with you when you talk to them because they just they like talking to you.
Yeah.
Talk to them about what they like about working with you. Is it talking about your customer experience? Is it your customer service? Is it your attitude? Is it the level of quality of work? You know,
Sure.
people like different things at the same company, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone's the same person. They're not always going to like the same thing. I know people that when they buy a product, they want to make sure that they're treated well while they're buying it. They don't
Right.
necessarily care if the product's the most useful thing on the planet.
Right. Yep.
There's other
Yeah.
people that are very utilitarian. You could you could scream and yell at them while you're selling it to them, but if the product's the best thing in the universe, they're going to buy it anyway.
Sure. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, I think those are great words, Connor. Why are you here? And I think a lot of people are struggling with that because they don't want to know the answer. So I'm just curious if we and I have to sneeze here, so I got it. It might come, it might not.
So,
But why are you here is really a good four words to ask
Mhm.
your customer but like I said, I think a lot of people are afraid of the answer
Yeah.
because it might upset the apple cart. It might get them to question, yeah, why am I here? Maybe I should be somewhere else. Sometimes people think no news is good news, and I'm just curious if there's a negative to why are you here, or is it always good to learn more about your client?
So, I mean, it's definitely how you ask it is important, right? If you show up and you're kind of gruff and you say, why are you here? Then
Yeah,
people might say, oh, should I not be here? Like, what
yeah,
is there a problem with
exactly.
being here?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but there's other ways to ask for that, right? You don't have to say that question. If you have a really good relationship with the client, you say, hey, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm looking for more clients. I'd love to get more clients that, understand the offering, that understand what I'm trying to give them, like you.
Sure.
Could you just
Yeah,
give me a little, a tip on why you liked me over someone else? That
sure.
might help. But the best way you can do this is just ask them for a review. Like,
Okay.
can you give me a review? Because you need reviews online anyway. That's how you market
Sure.
yourself. You got to tell other
Sure.
people what your people liked about you.
Yeah.
Uh, and the best way to do it is to come straight from their mouth. This we see all the time with. We work with remodeling companies as well. We see with testimonials. You need to have
Okay.
testimonials
Sure.
because the
Yeah.
remodeling is a process where you literally enter someone's home and you get in their way all the time.
Right.
That's the whole point of remodeling. So you have to do that right, and you need your clients to tell other people why they should work with you because it's a very private and personal affair remodeling someone's house.
Sure. Yeah, no,
Uh,
absolutely. That's awesome.
and that's the way to ask. Say, hey, could you give us a review? Could you tell me, what you liked about it? You don't have to
Sure.
necessarily phrase it as, why are you here? Because,
Yeah.
people aren't, not everyone's going to take that question the same way.
No, that's a good point. And how you specify and how you present that to your client is obviously going to be a huge difference. You said that it's hard to have a KPI. It's hard to look at ROI just because of how, the nature of the beast. But can you share, how about a success story? Somebody that did a digital strategy and it transformed their company, just so we can kind of wrap our brains around what that could look like. Are there any top of mind success stories that come to you in when you think about that ROI or that KPI?
Yeah, so we're working with one of our bigger clients. They've been around for a very long time. They've been producing video with us for a very long time. And the specific KPI they mentioned for us is that nearly 90 some odd. I don't know if they went higher than that, so I'll just cut it down and make us look a little worse. But nearly 90% of their prospects mentioned having seen them in their
Okay.
video. And
Okay.
that's super important because that means that this is one of those things where it's hard to track conversion, right? They've passively enjoyed the video. They like the person that's selling the product, and they're not necessarily pushing the sale, right? They're just explaining what they have to offer,
Sure.
why they're there, what their mission is, who they are as people, and they're putting that out into the world. And their clients, their prospective clients, they're latching onto that. They're saying, "Oh yeah, I like the way that you interact," because we have a show host, so all of our videos go out on social, on YouTube, and then on TV. And
Okay.
they say, "We like the way you interact with the show host. We like the way that you present yourself. We like the thing you're providing us." In this specific case, it was condos that are, downsizing condos for older people,
Okay.
or
Sure.
a nicer first home for a younger couple or a younger person to move into in the economy
Sure.
walk. And they say, you like the way that you interact with people, they like the way you present yourself. So that's the story, right? Yes, you have a condo. Other people have condos too, but they like the way that you talk. They like the way that
Okay.
you present yourself. So those are the more intangible assets that come with video. That's part of that parasocial relationship building. Because
Sure.
if you have people telling you they watched something of yours, then it clearly made an impact.
Sure. Okay.
Without, it's unsolicited, right? They're not asking if you heard of this video. The clients
Yeah.
are just saying they have. And if
Sure.
someone tells you that the last point of touch they had was a video, the
Yeah.
video's working.
Yeah. Well, and that's got to be a huge connector for trust. I mean, people buy
Yes.
from people that they know, like, and trust. And I think video adds that value of know the person, like the person, and trust the person. So I think that again, that falls right into that. So I love that story, and I'm assuming then that they're excited on the condo sales side because it's kind of a warmer lead,
Mhm.
because they've already kind of, whether they walk the condo in the video, whether they get I'm assuming it's builder showcase up here, and I'm assuming then that's for Lori Minetti. She does a great job of walking people through it. And so I think that's a missed thing I never even thought of before you mentioned that, Connor, is watch the building or the business owner and how they are interacting with somebody like like the host Lori,
Yeah.
because I think that's a fantastic way to see how you're going to be treated as well.
Yes.
And I think again, that's all subliminal. It's not like I'm watching this video to see how this particular client is going to connect with the host. But I think that's a really great piece. Couple questions and I'll let you go. Are there any new digital marketing trends for 2026 that you're seeing that will be, something that we need to be watching for? I mean, you hinted at AI, and I think it's harder and harder to tell the difference between a real person on a TV commercial versus an AI person. And so I don't know if AI is the next thing, but any trends that you see that you think are worth sharing with the audience today?
Yeah, I think there's three big trends. One is volume. And then I know this one's hard, right? It's always been the problem. It's been the problem for like 20 years for every business owner is volume. How much content are you producing?
Okay,
There's going to need to be a certain volume to cut through the noise, right? To build up the audience, to give people something to chew on, because the way that these social platforms and YouTube work is they operate on a schedule of uploads. That's the biggest part of the algorithm. Do you upload enough? How often do you upload? Do you upload at the same time? Are you
yeah,
uploading the same length of video? Is your content usually about the same topics?
sure.
So uploading and in a volume or a library of content, that is very, very important. If I
Okay.
could stress that enough, I would never stop speaking about it.
Eh,
But the other things that are important, I think YouTube's going to become more important, and I'll tell you why. I think YouTube is going to become more important because of the transcripts, actually. And most people might say, well, I mean, you're putting stuff on YouTube, you're trying to build an audience, right? Why do the transcripts matter? But you also have to think about YouTube as a secondary Google. I know it's part of Google, yes, so it is tied to Google, but it's a secondary Google. It's another SEO platform. That's how
okay.
people have come to understand YouTube in the last 10 years or so, which is why you see videos which are optimized for thumbnail and they're optimized for title, and it's still very important for the algorithm. But if people are searching for something, you want the keywords in the description. You want a very well thought out description that's SEO optimized. You want a transcript that talks to all the points that you want to get to in your video. It doesn't matter how long the video is, because you're not worried about the human, right? You want to make it engaging for a person to watch. That's not the point I'm trying to make here, that you don't
Sure.
have to do that, but you also are feeding the machine. Everything in a transcript on YouTube is indexed into Google as an
Okay.
SEO word.
Hmm.
They're all keywords, the whole transcript. And what
Okay.
reads Google? All of the LLMs. So they may not be able to point exactly to your video because there's a firewall between most LLMs and YouTube specifically.
Okay.
But Gemini can read it. They can read the Google search for it and tell you which company it's about. So I think SEO in YouTube and other video platforms for metadata, they're very important. Do not skip those. If you can
Okay.
take an extra time out of your day, if you're using ChatGPT, just have something there. Have some information there for people. And then the other thing I think is super, super important right now is to make sure that you are authentic. As AI progresses, and you hit the nail on the head with your statement, the way of the world, it's harder and harder to understand what is and what is not real.
Sure. Yeah.
This video here is fake, but it's rage is an emotion that you can get people to believe your story and get people to watch. So
Sure.
this video is here to make you mad, so you watch it
Okay.
and share it. This video is here to make you laugh, so you watch it and share it. This video is here to make you sad, so you watch it and share it. I think the most important thing is to not try to force a video into the algorithm, right? What you want is you want to be authentic and you want to be true to yourself so that when you do get an audience, you have the right audience.
Gotcha. Okay.
And authenticity is being rewarded more and more over not necessarily volume, right? Volume is
Yeah.
still important for authenticity building, but over any topic at all costs, get the audience in.
Sure.
Because as AI progresses, it's starting to get better at identifying if this is real or not.
Well,
And
you're
there's
real, right? You're
I
not
am
an
real.
AI.
I don't
You're
have an
real.
AI agent that's duplicated my voice and cloned my body. I do
Me
not.
neither. So I'm proud to say we're both real today. So that's awesome. Well, there's so volume is something to watch in 26. YouTube and being the new or in the next SEO platform, and then being authentic. Those are three really good things to consider for 2026. As we start to land the plane today, what would your tip of the day be today, Connor? Maybe it's something we covered already. Maybe it's something that we haven't yet. But for the entrepreneur slash business owner listening today, what would your tip of the day be?
I'm actually going to take a note from our friends at Nike. If you're worried about getting into video and you're not sure what best path to take, my answer to you is just do it.
Okay.
Just try.
Yeah.
You're the scariest part about video isn't making it. You can make I'm hesitant to use the word shoddy. I don't want to make it sound like it's bad, but you can make a low quality production and
Yeah.
put it out there and it could go viral.
Sure.
It
Okay.
it's the part that scares people is the putting yourself out there part, the
Yeah.
vulnerability of video. But that's exactly what people want to see. They
So it's
want to
easier
see.
to hit the it's easy to hit the record button. It's a lot harder to hit the click to enter button and put the video out where it needs to. So I think
Yes.
that's awesome. Um, and a follow-up question to that is really I think it just popped into my brain. Is it better to have a low quality video to your point or no video at all? Where do you stand in that scenario?
Absolutely have something.
Okay.
People will, this is, you'll find this in film. Everyone's watched a low quality production. Some people, their favorite movie is a low quality production.
There.
We, we as a people, we don't necessarily care if something is bad.
Okay.
We care if it connects with us. This is
Gotcha.
why YouTube influencers or YouTubers are so popular. We
Yeah.
know it's not the highest quality thing.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
fine. We care about them. We want to see
Sure.
them grow. We like
Mm,
their journey. And if you can get that audience around your business, but keep in mind, it's going to have to be around you too. If you can
yeah.
build that audience around you and your business, then you will absolutely blow your competition out of the water. If they don't have an audience that's loyal to them for that reason, because they don't know how to talk to them, they don't know how to
Yeah.
interact with them, then
Sure.
you're a head and shoulders above them.
Sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I could keep going with this. I want to be respectful of your time. And so if somebody's listening right now, Connor, and they want to learn more about maybe they have a video question, they have a question for you that we didn't get to, or they want to learn more about how Black Raven Media can help them, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
So LinkedIn's great. Um, and I'll make sure I get you my LinkedIn handles if I haven't already. LinkedIn's great. It's an easy platform to communicate on. The other, you can always shoot me an email at Connor, Conner. I know it's a little different. Conner at blackraven.agency.
Okay.
And I'll make sure you have that link as well for them.
Perfect.
Uh, but I'm very responsive over, visual or texting platforms because I'm not always available to take phone calls being on set.
Sure. Perfect. Okay. So it's Conner Zornow is how you spell his name. And again, jump on LinkedIn and find Connor there. Again, thank you so much, Connor. This has been really enlightening. So I'm glad to know that video is still a viable option
Right.
for business growth. I'm glad to know that poorly done video. I've done some where I'm looking at it as well, and I'm like, I don't, who's going to watch that, And then you start to, people do, they just 30 seconds of motivation or 30 seconds of something about, a topic tends to go pretty well. So, and if somebody's listening and they don't want to do it themselves, that's again why Connor's here. Or if you have a higher level, if you have a sales video or you have a video you don't think you should make yourself, that's again where Connor comes in. So thank you so much, Connor, for hanging out with us today. Great stuff. I love your background, and so it gives you added credibility having that film and theater background, producing background, all that. So I think that that's a great piece to have. So thanks for this. Sorry again that you moved down to the wrong state. Hopefully, you're always welcome in Wisconsin here. So feel free to come back anytime. And thanks again for all you're doing. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.